Hello, everybody. Before we get started with today's episode, I would like to offer a reading. Immersion doesn't begin to describe it. I don't dream anymore. Not in the meat world, anyway. But mostly because I don't sleep at all that much these days. My human life is unimportant to me. Living in a broken world that I probably won't ever live to see rebuilt. Earning just enough pay for kibble and my subscription to ELO. Who wouldn't prefer it there? My elf life is awesome. I have a new girlfriend. She's a bowmaster, rank 10. And we just moved into a 2-story elder tree in the Valley of Ancients. My elf line, Nature's Thorns, is farming all of the endgame content in the Dark Tower event raid, and is currently recruiting blade dancers and druids. So, if you happen to play one on the Night City air gap, send me a PM. My elf name is Derek Seiler. Hello everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Wireheads, where in fact today we have decided we are going to visit a beloved topic of ours over here at Wireheads, and then it's kind of fitting for a special guest that we're going to be seeing tomorrow. That's right, we're talking about Night City's #1 MMORPG, Elf Lines Online, and all the other cool expansions that came out for Cyberpunk RED with it.
I'm so excited.
Of course, I'm Diamond Dust, your netrunning VTuber, and also fellow Wirehead and netrunner enthusiast, Emmerron. We are Wireheads, and we are glad to get started with today's episode. So,
Yeah.
picture it, April Fool's Day, 2021, and, I was just, kind of sitting there chilling out in my bedroom, getting things planned. I see a ping come up on the for the website because, I'm one of those weirdos that sometimes I get notifications from websites. And, I was notified that Elf Lines Online came out, and I saw this, but I saw, all the elf art was, it's like, is this a Witcher thing? No, I was wrong. I was so wrong.
In spirit, it's kind of a Witcher thing, because all that art is, unused Witcher art. Funny story, actually. You'll find much of that art if you look at the elf faction in the Gwent video game, the standalone Gwent game. They used a fuckload of the elf art for that as well. That it's literally the same stuff from the ELO expansions. It's awesome.
So, with that in mind, before we get too far into this, Elf Lines Online, this was written by James Hutt and Mike Pondsmith, the first edition. But specifically, this is James Hutt's brainchild. And for anyone who might not know what an MMO is it Mass Multiplayer Online? That's what MMO stands for?
Massively multiplayer online, yep.
So, much like other popular titles, sort of like a critically acclaimed MMORPG that both Emmerron and I both play. And one that was an absolute train wreck that we used to play. Thank goodness I got away from there. The MMO itself mimics all the good and the bad things that come from, MMO culture. And I love it. So for starts, of course, they talk about what the Elflands is, which is the name of the setting. Once upon a time, the forests were prosperous under the protection of a great hero who defended the Elflands from evil. But no elf lives forever. No matter how great, eventually all become one with the soil. With the hero gone, the forces of darkness and their monster armies retook the land, spreading miasma as they went, forcing the elves back behind the walls of their settlements. Though the plague of miasma robbed the elves of their magic, it did not rob them of their courage or bravery. Now a new generation of heroes is rising up, organizing themselves into elf lines to fight back the monster hordes and return the Elflands to the Golden Age, each elf hoping in their hearts to become that legendary hero's successor. So, with that, where do we want to start with the breakdown on this? That's a great question.
Let me make sure I actually have the document in front of me here, because I want to make sure I'm representing this stuff exactly. So I guess where I can start, and I'm gonna turn down the music just a tad, because I have that. So we can start, I guess, with what exactly a elf-line character looks like. So say you, an intrepid netrunner, techie, or other predisposed nerdy edge runner, wanted to play the hottest MMO in Night City. What on earth would that look like? Now, you are going to, unlike normal character creation where you have a couple options, here you're forced to make a complete package character, using 50 stat points, 60 skill points, and none of that goes into luck. So luck is not a stat for the purposes of elf. No stat may be higher than 8 at character creation or lower than 3, which is different from normal character creation where 2 is the floor. Second, your Elfline's characters choose their skills from an altered skill list, and the maximum level a starting character can have a skill in a character creation is 6. So the skill maximum doesn't change, but the skills themselves kind of shift a little bit. You also then choose an appropriate elf name for your character, and you pick 200 gold's worth of equipment from the armory table to start with. You will keep any gold you do not spend. So the other thing too is that, so the skill list here, you've got a couple of things like animal handling that has become an empathy skill. You also have things like athletic and contortionist that have been combined into a single skill, so that way it saves you a little bit on the complexity of this, since for the purposes of playing an online game, a lot of those things are going to very likely be within an online space. They're going to be what's the word, abstracted. There it is. You're going to see those things abstracted in the same way or by the same base system, so just kind of makes sense. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, Diamond, I'll let you dive as deep as you want to in there, or move past that, but that's kind of the basics of kind of what we're dealing with when we're making a character within the game.
Now, one of the things that actually I had discussed with friends previously, because some of you guys may know me from my campaign on Cybernation Uncensored, Eddies and Elflines. We talked about why base 3. And the thought was that, compared to Cyberpunk RED, which is, the real world where, life is garbage and not everyone is going to be very strong, Elflines Online, base 3 just makes it to where you're going to just be a little bit stronger than the average human. And with that in mind, this is more meant to create that heroic fantasy in a game where it is very dark and the world will beat down on you nonstop. Now, with the Elfline's skill list, though, there is some changes, and I've discussed them in a previous video of mine that I've covered. But some skills are blended together, like evasion and dance, but that is considered a difficult skill now, which is, ×2, alongside archery and melee weapon, and first aid, paramedic, and surgery, which all require extra, like 2 points to translate over to 1 point for that skill. And the armory what we have is names of different kinds of items you can find in Elflines Online and how much their gold piece cost is, which we'll talk about gold here in just a moment when we talk about the money aspect of Elflines Online, because that creates a whole new layer to the economy in Cyberpunk Red. But you have, like, for example, leather armor is equivalent to leathers, studded leather armor, Kevlar, chainmail is medium armor jack, and full plate armor is flak. And then you have a variety of different melee weapons. Bow just translates over to bow. And sacred herbs, you could spam as many as you want, but they're basically speed heal.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is that as the table kind of suggests, there's no in-universe or like in-game equivalent to things like light or heavy armor jack or Metal Gear. So the Elflines bands of what kind of armor you can have is distinctly different. My understanding as well is that if you have one of the heavier armors there, the penalties still apply as they would on a regular Cyberpunk Edge Runner.
Yes. So,
yeah, go ahead.
I suppose one other note, in Elflines Online, there is a PvP culture where you get out there and you fight other players as you hang out in Elflines Online. And there's also a character progression system where the GM will determine if you've ranked up. Seems to go by like milestones is what it looks like.
Sort of, yeah.
And like it does indicate, like in Derek Seiler's guide to Elflines Online, when people should be hitting different levels as they progress through the game as well.
Yeah.
And
well, and it sounds like in the guide, which we'll cover a little bit later, but they also mention how like there is grinding in the game. So at least for the game, like the in-universe like way the game is played or the way it handles things, the game has some form of like EXP based progression, but none of the supplements for the tabletop really break that down as to how that looks or works or whatever.
So with that, I see over here in the audience from Nyla, I need to explore high-end ELO rating. Oh, well, actually, that's actually talked about in the next expansion, which we'll get to here in a moment on my half of the episode.
We will get there, Nyla. Don't you worry. We will talk all about that.
We'll talk about the raids also later on when we get to Derek Seiler's guide.
Yep.
But oh my goodness. But as you reach levels 1 through 3, you can increase a stat by 1. And then for ranks 4 through 10, you increase either a difficult skill by 2, or you can increase 2 non-difficult skills by 2.
Yep. And then
there's also titles.
And once you hit rank, yeah. I'm sorry, I was about to
ahead.
mention that, but yeah. So once you hit rank 3, you basically the system looks at what thing you have the highest stat in, and then based on that point where you are, it'll give you a title. So
it's like the equivalent to a job in a sense.
Yeah, basically, because it basically is determining based on your skill points in the spread how your character is spec'd, like what they're good at. It's important to know here, by the way, that nowhere in the document does it say that you're unable to raise a stat beyond level 8. So you can have a stat as high as 11 in ELO. So even if you at character creation have like your reflex, let's say at 8, you can raise that to 11. and have an elf that's just the fastest mofo in the Elflands, and you'll be one hell of a bowmaster then, which there's some in-universe reasons why that might not be the way you want to do it, but we'll get there.
Now, one of the other things that happens, and I feel this might be a good segue into, like, what does this have to do with Cyberpunk RED? Well, one of the other things that goes on in Elflines, besides, you and your buddies going out dungeon diving and going adventuring, going out to go kill 3 ground squirrels, and then come back here when you're done, or whatever else, you do PvP combat, which, however, death here, you go back to your last made camp, and you have a death tax of 2,000 gold pieces you have to give up. If you don't have 2,000 gold pieces, you get revive sickness, and that reduces your move to 1 until you can give up 20 gold pieces, or 2,000 gold pieces, or 20 eddies to get rid of your revive sickness. So either get really good at the game or get really, really fortunate, because this will bleed your wallet. And also, if you kill another player, you get 1,000 gold from that revive on top of that.
Yep. And so it's it starts getting really interesting. So paying to win in yellow is a thing that I've actually written an adventure based on this concept as like the hook. So quick ad for what I'm doing. At Gen Con, I'll be running this adventure. So those of you who are going to Gen Con, look out for pay to win, because that is the adventure I'll be running there. Now, with that said, it's noted that obviously there's an entry cost, like there is for any game or any really any hobby, I think you could say, within a nerdy space like video games or card games, which is that you need to spend 500 eddies on a Rush Revolution headset to play the game. You need a copy of the game, which is another 50 eddies. And then every month you pay a 20 eddy sub cost to it.
There is no free trial.
There is no free trial. You also, though, will get that covered if you have a lifestyle of at least generic pre-pack. So as long as you're spending at least 300 eddies a month on your lifestyle, you can disregard the 20 eddy sub cost, which is important.
Now, if you're paying 600 on the other hand, you can have as many Elflines characters as you need to sate your obsession.
This is also true.
And can almost always pay to remove revive sickness without having to think about it.
Yep. So it is important to note that you can buy gold in game with real money. I think the rate is 100 gold per eddy that you put in. You also can buy. There is a secondary market. I don't think that the document actually clarifies here whether this is against TOS or not. But you can definitely find yellow characters for sale on the black market. And a rank 10 character is usually worth 500 eddies. I would assume that just means here's the husk of a rank 10 character without anything fancy. I would imagine the character had a bunch of shiny shit on them, like raid gear and stuff. That price would increase. So worth keeping in mind that there is this entire subculture of people who level elves to level 10 just to then trade them off for eddies.
Now, when you interact with other players, though, some skills you may need to use your character's skill bases when it comes to social skills. Though with NPCs, it'll be through your elf's social skills. And that could be that's kind of how that pans out there. So don't think you can just get fully away from your Cyberpunk Red character sheet when you plug into Elflines Online, because of course you got to deal with other people, such as people that don't turn on tank stance when they go into the dungeon. Despite everyone telling them to turn on tank stance. I really don't know who that could possibly be.
Yeah, wow, I have no idea at all.
And of course, the real world will get involved with your gaming session. You could be in the middle of raid night and then suddenly somebody's kicking in your door.
Yeah. I think the book actually recommends you do that to your players too. So like, if ever you guys are playing ELO as a downtime activity, just understand that that one booster that gets a little too into their blue glass and black lace sometimes at the same time, that one that lives like 2 doors down from you, that asshole is definitely going to take a very heavy pistol, poor quality of course, to your door at the worst possible time during the raid, probably. So it's going to be great. It's going to be a real great time. The next thing that I guess I want to throw in there as well is ELO is just a lot of fun from the perspective of like having a little bit of levity, I guess, in your game. Like if you're a person like me who really does GM quite often on the darker side of Cyberpunk, this is a really great way to inject some like comedic elements into the game and let it not be all so serious, because this shit is goofy. James, the reason we're talking about ELO today, by the way, guys, just in case anyone in chat does want to submit this while we're live, we are going to be meeting with James Hutt tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day that we get to talk with the James Hutt of RTG, and he's the one who, as Diamond mentioned, came up with all of this. When I asked him at Gen Con what inspired him most of all to create ELO and like do what he did with it, he responded to me that it was his angry man yells at cloud on the topic of bad MMOs that have a lot of people that love them, but they're objectively either dated or just poorly designed or whatever, but they have large enough audiences that they, despite being like 30 years old, are still around. He said, yeah, like this thing is, it's jittery, it's really not good quality VR, there's lag all the time, blackouts around the city make it just a headache, but there's a die-hard group of players that absolutely love this thing, will defend it till the day they die. Like ELO, they are all, ELO is the thing I love. I am an ELO fan. If there are 10 ELO fans, I am one of them. If there is one ELO fan, I am that fan. If there are no more ELO fans, it means I have died. Like, that is basically the idea of this game, is its diehard player base is that.
I'm looking at the artwork in here, and it seems like it'd be decent in there. However, that reaches the end of the first expansion, which it was a very... The first expansion was an April Fool's expansion put out there, and they gave you suggestions on like how to create enemies using the Mook stuff in the back.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's not, we're technically not at the end, Diamond. Hold on. I'll take this.
You want it?
Oh.
All right, go.
I'll take this. I'll take this one. Yeah. So this is a little excerpt, a little tale from the blog of one Derek Sylar. Last Sunday, Morlissa, Dorian, our Elfline's newest recruit, and I all stayed up for the weekly reset to hunt a rare spawn in Razorfire Caverns. It was going well. Morlissa was landing headshot after headshot and seamlessly switching to poisoned arrows against the high armor mobs for maximum DPS, and I was keeping them off her with my twin longswords. Dorian was helping pick up the drops, repaired our armor, and soaked up a single hit with his shield. When we reached the halfway point of the dungeon, I spotted Shadowfang and Morlissa was just about to pull when Dorian suddenly had to go AFK for a bio break. Okay, whatever. Morlissa and I roleplayed for a bit, but after about 5 minutes, we started worrying if he was coming back at all. Suddenly, 2 elves from Fang Hunters logged in behind us and immediately laid into us with scarlet black bows. This is my first elf choom, so I instantly knew what was up. I kicked Dorian out of Nature's Thorns and used him as a shield just to teach him a lesson. And Morlissa switched to her great axe and caught one of the pikes in the leg, severing it, or the PKs in the leg, severing it. We finished off the last one together. Easiest 1500 GP of my life after the split. After a round of herbs, we killed Shadowfang in a duo, and Morlissa was able to finish her new cosmetic set with the cloak it dropped. That's why you play ELO, for the stories.
And also on top of that, this sometimes causes real life player killing, which apparently that happened between a couple of players at one point somewhere off in the northeast coast. One player got mad at another, and you know they knew where he lived and ended up just oofing him. A player killing him for reals. It's like, goodness.
Yeah. Well, and there's like there's absolutely room for, like, I mean, you talk about like doxing in like our modern day with games and things like that, and like now imagine, right, doxing or swatting. Imagine, if you will, swatting someone in a world where MaxTac exists. Imagine, if you will, what happens to that person when the law enforcement agency responding is deeply entrenched, even more so than our real life police, with a shoot first, ask questions later mentality. I may have done this during James Hutt's Gen Con game last year to someone, and I'm proud of it. You will not shame me away from being proud of this. I was a net runner for a reason, and I knew exactly what I set out to do when I joined that game.
Now, they were expecting everyone to be like, or ugh, when they first saw it, but surprisingly, Elflines Online got a fantastic response, like an overwhelmingly positive response, much
Everyone
to the
loves
surprise of everyone. Which, I mean, when you get a bunch of nerds who play tabletop games, who probably also might play other games like MMOs, I don't see what could possibly go wrong. You know, for me, I like, as someone who plays a healer, and I get sick and tired of a certain person, like if we only get the Night City air gap, and I get sick and tired of getting the same tank, I'm going to call my fixer up and be like, hey, I need you to find this person, and I don't care how much the cost is, I need them to just stop playing. You could create jobs like that. Or, hey, I did a trade with this person, and for a very valuable item, they have not given it to me. For $500, if you could convince them to finish the trade, I would greatly appreciate it.
Fixer, I remind you, their hands are all they need to complete the trade for me. Their kneecaps are not required.
All right. However, this led to an expansion of Elflines Online.
It did. And this is, I'll be honest, this is probably the thing that Diamond and I have gotten like most tinfoil hatted about out of most of the game. This is titled Elflines Online Expansion Pack 1. So 1 denotes the presence of, there will be a second or possibly more. So we haven't gotten a named expansion pack 2. We've gotten like other expansions that expand ELO, but not number 2, not by name. So that's on my docket of questions to ask James tomorrow is, expansion pack 2 when?
You know they're not going to give us an answer. Absolutely not.
They won't give us a straight answer, but
I bet
at least
James
we'll
would
get
be a bit
James
of
to score.
control about it.
Oh, I 100% believe
I
that.
bet James
100%
knows
believe
we're
that.
going to ask that question.
Traith Kraus, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. But no, James is absolute. He's gonna be like, he's gonna take it and roll with it. That's who he is. Honestly, I'm really excited to see what his response is to this.
A new excerpt comes with a new expansion from one Derek Seiler, which, by the way, Derek Seiler is the main character of the Elflines Online series. On ELO, there's no day quite like it. Or expansion day. On ELO, there is no day quite like it. Morlissa and I had been planning for weeks, farming sacred herbs and poison vials. We were going to hit the reportedly weak to poison miasma monsters of the Miasma Lands hard, and to clear the Bowmaster Wayfarer quest chains before the PKers got to them. The morning of expansion day, real life intruded. My asshole boss, Eric, at 8 a.m. at the end of the graveyard shift, told me and Susan, my weird co-worker who wears a lot of black makeup and stares a lot, that since we had both scheduled an off day today, that one of us were going to have to cancel it and stay for another 10-hour shift, as he was short-staffed. I thought I was toast, but when I explained to Susan how important it was for me to have the day off, she immediately offered to work the shift. I guess she could be cool sometimes. As soon as I got home, I logged on. Melissa wasn't online, which was odd, because she usually is already on by the time I get home after a shift. When the server reset, she still wasn't there. For a second, I thought I'd been stood up. No, not Morlissa Eversoul. Isn't like that. Morlissa Eversoul isn't like that. I figured she must have had a real life intrude on her too. And that she must feel horrible. Not being able to play on expansion day. So, I improvised a new plan. I picked up our camp and rushed to the Miasma Lands, running from monsters that were way too strong for me. The Sagatari leak turned out to be misleading, as the miasma monsters were vulnerable to biotoxin, not poison, which didn't help. I ran until I reached the highest point on the new map. When I finally succeeded at setting up our camp there, I planted sacred herbs that we had gathered together around it in a pattern that would show her how I felt. It took all day, but when she logged in at 6:20 p.m., we still had the best expansion day ever. Derek Seiler.
I love how just blatantly clueless this guy is. It's so good.
Wait.
Wait, what?
No!
You didn't put that one together like forever ago, Diamond? Really?
Oh, that's
I think
so
Diamond just...
Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart.
Morlissa and Susan are the same. Yeah, they're the same person.
Susan. Oh, what a sweetheart.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, so Susan got it, and she's like, "No, you go ahead. I'll work the shift." And he doesn't realize that that's because she's fucking Morlissa. And he's like, the reason she stares a lot is because she's like, "I know it's you," and he doesn't get the hint. It's just so beautiful.
Oh.
The fact you didn't put that together until right now just is beautiful, Diamond. I love that so much.
Oh, Derek. Oh, dear.
Because that's exactly 10 hours later, basically.
10 hours plus a 20-minute commute.
Right, exactly. So it's like, as soon as she got home from working the 10, she logged in. Oh my god, I love this. Yeah, human perception, -1, Prepperjack. Exactly,
Emmerron,
exactly.
You and
What's
I
up?
both know. I think we got a gig idea. For a media.
You're not
a media gig.
Oh my. Oh. Dude, that would be so funny. Oh my god.
Oh.
I mean, I've already used Derek Seiler as the center of the gig I have written. So honestly, I could just make a whole micro arc of yellow gigs around this dude. He's such a character. It's like it's so hard not to.
Well, also the fact that it's something he's passionate about, he cares about, and just to see that like Susan is just like, this is important to you. I want you to enjoy it, and it's just like, it just, anyway.
It speaks your inner romantic. I can hear it in your voice.
Oh, it kind of does. Just, I just, man, that I needed something heartwarming like that. But anyway, so ELO Expansion Pack 1. Now, if any of you guys have heard of the data pack, where it has all those neat little roll something and then go to that number, that's kind of what Expansion Pack 1 is like. And in data pack we have 20 things. In here we have 10 things. Or I think we also have maybe 20 things as
No.
Just
well, we have 20 things, but they're split across 2 roll 10 tables.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 10 players in Night City, but also 10 player characters on the Night City air gap.
Yep.
So I suppose, we have time that we could probably look at all of them, because it's just character sheets at the end for sample character sheets of each type of elf at the end, which
sure
is pretty good. Which honestly, we could probably take a look at all of them here, because there are some references in here as well.
Yeah.
So
there are quite a few.
Minnie. She's a waitress at one of Night City's upscale restaurants, and she's kind of one of those waitresses that I'm pretty sure that she would probably if you're one of those that you're in the in crowd with her, or she's one of the waitresses that you'll probably enjoy or probably not enjoy. However, she's also one of those that, I'm just looking at this, that if you're part of a rival elf line, mind your food. Holy shit. But yeah, she is. But yeah, this adorable young woman though, dark pixie cut, adorable little freckles, and she doesn't talk much about her hobby with customers unless she spots the elf lines online. Hey, I do that. I've encountered somebody with a, cyberpunk garb before. It's like, hey, I know that thing.
I've done it to people. I was halfway to doing it to a person. So when I went to Gen Con last year, so this is just really quick aside. They gave us all these little bags. And I'm trying to look around to see if mine's up here, if I left it downstairs, because I have mine somewhere. I'll find it later. Bottom line is, we got these little tote bags. They're maybe about yay big, right? They're not particularly large, but they were specifically labeled with Fan Festival. They had a little Asm stone on them as a keychain. It was really cute. And as I am getting off the plane to Indiana last year for Gen Con, I see one of the guys 3-4 rows in front of me on the other side of the plane pull his out of the overhead bin. And FanFest was, I'm not kidding, literally the weekend before Gen Con. So it was FanFest from I think it was a Friday, Saturday event in Vegas, to that Wednesday was when I was flying to Indianapolis for Gen Con. And so I was just oh my God, I was literally at an event 4 days ago with this dude. And I didn't know him, but it was just funny, I know what you did.
Well, I've encountered somebody back at one of the sites that I used to work at. who in her dormitory, she hung up a banner that had the scholars icon on it. And you know, I ended up seeing her, and like she had like scholars. She wears this like scholars pin on her jacket, and I just simply said, "Here, feel, think," and I saw her freeze up for a moment, and she was just like, "Oh, you know?" And I'm like,
"One of us."
I was just like, "Yeah. How far along are you?" It's like, "Oh, I'm an Endwalker," and it's like, "Yeah, I'm over at Shadowbringers," and she's like, "Oh, you poor soul." I'm like, "Oh," because I this was just before I started Shadowbringers too. Like I had just arrived to the gates, and you know, she's just like, "Okay, by the way, make sure you go see Alize first." I'm like, "Huh?" It's like, "You'll see." Like,
yeah.
It's the only exchange I ever had with her. I hope she's doing good nowadays.
Love that. No, yeah, for sure, because that's so good. Like when you find someone in the wild, you're like, "You're one of us. You're one of us."
Well, I mean, someone's seen my Cyberpunk RED pins on my jacket, and they're just like, "So, do you play the right role or the wrong role?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I play Netrunner." "Oh, you're one of the cool ones." "Okay." "Oh, I mean, what do you mean by that?" It's like, look, I was about to say, if you play easy mode, I mean, exec, you and I just like, I'm like, whoa.
What's up with this exec slander? Hold up, they're fun. They're a lot of fun. I don't know what you're talking about, jerk.
But yeah, Minnie's one of those that like I can relate to that, but she has multiple. She's a hardcore raider with multiple world first boss kills under her belt. She's, you know, quiet life, but big victories.
Like, yeah, I mean, I love that. I'm like, that's aspirational, honestly. I want to be her.
Then we have Tony. Tony is he's retired. He lives with his son, daughter-in-law, and grandkids, and he has a pension, which is kind of rare. They're very rare nowadays. And, well, his grandkids got him into Elflines Online. Which, it's been some fun for him ever since his wife passed away. And I think that's good. That, he's found something to enjoy. But, after 10 p.m., he's up grinding into the wee hours of the morning. He doesn't have places to be anyway, so...
Yeah, well, it even says, like, his daughter can't make him go to bed along with the kids, so he just grinds all night. I'm like, honestly, goals. Like, dude, that goals.
Then we have some edge runners who make the big eddies. And not all of them budget or save well. And then we have Hayabusa. Formerly one of Night City's deadliest sharpshooters. He's worked as a mercenary in corporate security and for the U.S. government a couple times. And he always salted his paychecks away in the savings account. Unfortunately, retirement was boring. He found Elflines Online, which was not boring. And the predicament is his sweetheart, who he's retired to marry, is a little upset on how little attention he's been paying to her since he's gotten into raiding.
Yeah.
But
he's like, in raiding feels... Yeah.
It's helping him relive, his time before.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, too, here, because it's just like, raiding feels so much like corporate raids. He's tempted to unpack his cache of guns in the hidden armory under his dresser drawers. It's like, oh my god, this man's John Wick. Let's go. Oh, I love it so much. But
yeah, then we have Amy, who
Amy, yeah.
She's a moe aesthetic poser who has gotten a lot into her MMO addiction. Though it's starting to really impact if she's going to continue with being a moe aesthetic poser. She wants to go get that body sculpt of being an elf. Oh boy.
Oh,
That's
God.
asking for trouble.
That's asking for trouble. The Moe poser gangs are not to be trifled with. They are scary.
Sure, they're cute.
Frightening.
They might enjoy their little tea parties. But for all you know, there's probably an assassin's teapot at that table. I could really take them for actually doing something like that. But
yeah,
let's see. Then we have Ben. He's a tall, awkward, gangly teenager with a big nose, a weak chin, and snaggly teeth. He's big and he's a klutz, and he doesn't even have the option of being popular via the combat ball team. His parents are both well-meaning middle-level execs, and he's fed well and dressed nicely. And he goes to a good private school. However, he's one of the best ELO players in his grade. And he's growing to like the unusual amount of attention he's getting in-game from his peers. However, his social life, oh no, he's gonna be terminally online. Oh
yeah,
dear.
well, and it's just I love how they put it in the document here, where it's like he's slowly growing to like the unusual amount of attention he's getting in game from his peers. If only they would like him for him too. At least his character isn't clumsy and gangly and awkward. And I'm like, Ben, I've been you, dude. I get it. That's so sad.
But he's like, a middle schooler or a high schooler that, this is just what he does to, blow off steam. Mountain. Which, actually, I think Mountain's mentioned in the Punknot DLC.
I'm going to go research. You go ahead. I'm going to look.
Because because he works at a clinic, and I think it's from the Ashes.
Give me a sec. I'll find it.
He works in... Yeah, he works an honest job From the Embers. He's a solo that probably does guard duty for Phoenix and helps with the patients and assists the doctors. So he does security work for the clinic. And he and one of the other registered nurses play ELO together to blow off steam when they're off shift. They're a great duo.
Let me see.
So y'all remember Skyrim, Grandma? Edna, aka Granny Ed, is one of Sega Atari's most popular sponsored garden influencers, because everybody enjoys Edna, and she's also one of those. She's one of those that she's great for helping the new young gamers. And also also has a shit ton of crafting knowledge. She is also top-notch streamer because she also kills PKers very stylishly. 360-degree kill cam shots. Don't mess with the old lady or her elf. Watch as it turns out that Edna was like a solo from back in the 2020s.
For real though, like that's the thing. Like Edna is such a cool character. Like, she's one of the ones that I actually did use in my gig as well, because I love the idea of this like gamer grandma who's just like, I don't like what these young kids are doing with them violent video games where they're killing each other, and all I want is for it to all stop. So I stopped his heart beating. Now he ain't bothering no one no more.
And then, of course, from Tales of the Red Street Stories, we have John Doe, the man with no past. And I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, he's a man of mystery. And, well, he's good at multi-boxing. Has been banned from Elflines Online, but they kind of gave up on it because, they're just making money when he multi-boxes. Then we have Lupin and Kirk, a cute pair of newlyweds that met in ELO, fell in love in ELO, and got married, and then they got solemnized by a Night City judge. They are known as the Sweetheart Bandits, plaguing financial institutions in Night City. They stage robberies, and they get enough money to fuel a 4 to 6 month ELO binge. And, the process begins again and again when the money gets low. You have Dallas, who's an entry-level retail store clerk. He uses his skills at Elflines Online to got him noticed by a fixer. Now he's part of Night City's competitive PvP scene, taking out virtual hits on characters for gold, which his manager converts into Eurobucks after taking a cut for herself. Unfortunately, Dallas's skills at the game have made him a target of offline PK, where disgruntled players hunt him down and other players make sure that he can't play ELO temporarily or permanently. Dallas is currently living in hiding, still playing his virtual trade as the most hated player on Elflines Online. Imagine that.
Imagine that. So I'm looking at the Punk Knot DLC right now. It took me a while to find it for some reason. I'll have to make sure that I download this in the spot where I can find it more easily next time. But they talk about, let's see, Phoenix Red Wine, MJ Kefohuchi,
Unless Mountain's not mentioned in that one, but
yeah,
I know from the Ashes was mentioned. So
yeah, I don't think unless I'll need to I might need to dig a little deeper, but yeah, they're at the very least they're not mentioned in that narrative introduction to it.
Now we have, and we also have 10 PCs on the NC server.
Yep.
We have Nyx. She is a fantastically notorious PKer that people want her hands. There is a bounty to have Nyx's fingers broken or taken off. I've had Nyx in Elflines in Eddie's and Elflines, and she's been noted to have people come after her. She tried to attack the party and learned real quick after the second time about it that she had to go try to deal with it, and she didn't realize who exactly she was actually getting involved with. And now her and one of the other party members become, close friends. And also she had a tragic love affair of Gamer Girl's death. Burr is a noob. He's incompetent. And he's trapped his low-level character in a high-level area. And, he's... I don't know how else to put it about Burr. I don't know how else to put it.
Let's see. Taking a wrong turn trap is rank 2 elf in the Razorfire Caverns endgame by accidentally setting his camp there. He's clad in a mismatched set of vendor trash and other equipment and is constantly getting murdered by the fierce monsters within. Burr is slowly crawling out every time he respawns, making about 1.5 meters from his campsite before a high-level mob finds him and chews him into chunky kibble. He has somehow not given up the process of dragging himself out of the zone despite the revive sickness. Will PCs take pity on him and escort him out? Is basically begging you to write a gig about this. I love that.
Yeah. Then we have Wormwood. Pretty savvy customer and veteran player who runs a friendly elf line centered around people who want to play but don't have time to raid. You can spot him in his distinctive red gambeson standing on a mailbox in town, just advertising membership signups for his elf line. So sort of like some people standing around a certain plaza shouting about, hey, you should come out to this club event we're having, and just spamming, shout chat to hell and back.
Don't slander Limsa Laminsa like that. I don't like it when you do that.
I fucking will. I can't find my fucking way around Limsa Laminsa.
Then get good. It's real simple.
Oh, get good, you say. Oh, you. But yeah, he's one of those that he helps with. He's an all-around good player at ELO. helps new players. Tira has been accused of being a professional gold piece farmer. If only Tira's main hobbies within Elflines Online are gathering raw materials. Find a resource note. Tira's trying to beat you to it already. Want to buy resources on the auction market? Chances are Tira is the one who put it on the auction. Tira's a white apron form is infamous in the Night City server. Her constant gathering really isn't an actionable offense, but she's not, because she's not using bots or any subroutine to play her player characters. She's just new. She's a new breed of entrepreneur, someone who farms virtually and cashes excess GP in order to pay for her cube hotel room and her kibble. And her ELO subscription. Oh, she's one of those. She pays herself for playing the game. Honestly, goals. God damn. Salmistra, the Mistress of the Winds, runs one of the most exclusive role-playing based Elflines on the Night City server. Every one of her cosmetic outfits is elegantly chosen to match her pearlescent eyes and violet skin. Nothing annoys her more than some horrible dungeon crawler copying her outfits. On such occasions, Salmistra will organize the might of her Elfline to hunt down, PKing them until they log off or change clothes. To join the Elfline, you need to submit a 5,000 word backstory for your character and demonstrate acting skills worthy of her attention, except not too worthy. Otherwise, she might feel threatened and refuse to admit you. I do find it funny because this is basically your glamour is endgame player who also runs a nightclub in one of their private houses in Final Fantasy, who also will go to because the one difference between ELO and FF14 is the fact that there's no open PvP in FF14. There's like arena PvP, and that's about it, right? Mm-hmm. So like if FF14 had open PvP in any way, you can bet your ass this type of person would abso-fucking-lutely exist in the game. Like, it is a mercy that it has no open PvP. Fun fact, you have met one of Salmistra's rivals, 8-Bit.
No shot. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
That very friendly rocker boy that you met?
Oh yeah. No, I knew who you were talking about. I was like, oh no.
I mean, Then we have Jinx. Constantly recruiting new players to join his Elfline. Because, well, he's a terrible raid leader and goes through raiders like ELO players go through Continental Brands, Elflines Online, Sacred Kibble, Herbs, bring the taste of ELO to the... Ugh. Anyway, raid nights with Jinx consist of mostly him screaming profanities. Oh, so he's a WoW player, okay. Sorry to anybody who actually does play WoW, but,
Look, back in high school, when I was a deep invested WoW player, I can tell you there was nothing more satisfying than going to the grocery store, picking up a 6-pack of the Mountain Dew flavor for whichever faction we were playing. We were all Horde, of course, because fuck the Alliance. And and honestly, though, like it's very much like this is your WoW player, that they are indicative, I think, of the WoW demographic in a big way.
And then
I pissed off DM Chromie in my chat. Hello. I knew that'd get someone.
Moonshadow is the rarest thing on any ELO server. He's a competent raid level warm heart healer. Healers. The great role. Absolutely love healers.
Great role.
Perhaps the most competent one in Night City. Therein lies the problem, however, as 3 separate Elflines are all murdering each other in game to try to get him to join. Moonshadow is, generally pleasant and a non-player killing sort. Has watched his progress in the game crawl to a halt because every raid group he winds up in explodes into violence as they get ambushed by members of other elf lines. Moonshadow's player is pondering paying for a name and avatar change just so he won't be recognized this time around.
Yeah.
So
that is like in any MMO that's not
8, like right there.
Yeah, well, yeah, within ELO, absolutely. And IRL, who knows? But like in ELO at the bare minimum, absolutely. And it's one of those things where like this is another case where like if Final Fantasy didn't work the way that it did, I think healers would be well, and it certainly had moments in its history even where like healers have been like that highly sought after. Like the competent ones were like heavily sniped by like groups and stuff like that. But again, no open PvP, so it does erupt into like full-blown violence. But yeah, healers are in high demand always.
There's also always someone like Sorrel. In every elf line, you know the type. He's goofy, lighthearted, fully aware that elf line's online is a game, and therefore only taking seriously enough to play in it. Yet, despite his lightheartedness, or perhaps because of it, Sorrel is a great druid to take along in pickup groups and raids. The game is just entertainment for him. He's willing to let people with the worst equipment raid with him. He's surprisingly patient with newbies, and not as self-sacrificing as some others might be, but a cool, distant big brother to them. Newbies tend to react well to Sorrel, too, because he's proof that they might be a casually badass one day.
Yeah, they might be that casually badass one day. I see, that's the kind of player I like being. I wear a mentor crown in Final Fantasy XIV. Those of you outside the community will not know what that means. Those of you in the community will look at me now like I'm much less... you'll look at me with some disdain, probably. It's okay. I embrace it. But it's something where I truly wanted to be a mentor like that, who's just like, hey, like we're getting through a dungeon, someone keeps dying, it's like, hey, we chill, it's fine, like we'll just pull again, we vibe, and just trying to be helpful. Like it truly, I think if more people act like that in most games, it would just be more fun. It's just better.
Then we have XX Blackrock XX, and is the wild blood damage queen of the Night City server. Her character skills are perfectly optimized on a spreadsheet to ensure that she does the most insane damage possible for a damage dealer in the game. As a result, she's both an asset and a liability in most groups. Sure, she's going to deal enough damage that that whatever you're trying to kill is going to fall over faster, but she also deals so much damage that it'll take an experienced tank with a lot of work to keep the bosses from killing her, and then going absolutely nuts on the rest of the group in swift succession. Blackrock thinks that tanks who can't keep the attention off her just need to get good. But it's true that her skills would be much better served if she were a more solid team player.
In other words, she is literally bursting them so hard. She's just yanking aggro off of the tank, which is insane. Holy shit.
Looking at all you samurais, I know you can't help it. I know you can't help it, but holy fuck. Take it easy.
When you understand the raw joy of getting a pentamelded crit set and then going double Midari Setsugeka on an enemy, it is fucking incredible, okay? Like, that is joy incarnate.
And then we have Lunchbox. Lunchbox isn't his actual in-game name, which is Emmerron. No, Lunchbox is a quick hand who earned the nickname for having the most enhanced set of plate armor in Night City server.
This guy, I love
that.
Lunchbox. I love Lunchbox. He's so funny.
As a personal aesthetic and choice, Lunchbox's avatar, a fairly handsome male elf, has not been seen in the flesh since Lunchbox donned their set of armor 2 expansions ago. Lunchbox is a freelance raiding tank who hires out to elf lines in need of a pinch hitter for gold pieces or GP. Players on the Night City Air Gap joke that Lunchbox, Moonshadow, and Blackrocks would make a great team, except they're never online at the same time. You see if there's any Oh, go ahead.
I just love this idea of like big plate mail boy walking around, and literally he's so known for this that one day the name Lunchbox stuck to him and just hasn't shaken that shit since. That's so good.
All right. Well, I suppose we don't really have to change anything. But thank you for watching this half of Wireheads episode 6, part 1. Head over to Emmerron's channel for part 2, where we're going to talk about Derek Seiler's guide to ELO, and also one other interesting addition to Elflines Online that I feel
favorite one.
Emmerron would be great for.
My favorite one.
Until then, I'll see you guys over on Emmerron's channel, and I'll see you guys in James Hutt's interview. Bye.
Yep. Bye, guys.